The Shadow of the Warrior, the Trial of Ekene. In the ancient kingdom of Udo, where the sun kissed the earth with golden rays and the rivers hummed with the songs of the ancestors, there lived a people whose warriors were known far and wide. They were celebrated not just for their physical strength, but for their wisdom, resilience, and the unyielding spirit that flowed through their veins. Among these warriors was a young man named Ekene, whose physical prowess was unmatched, yet he was haunted by a shadow, a legacy left behind by his late father, Okoro, the greatest warrior Udo had ever known. Ekene's life was a constant battle against this shadow. The people of Udo watched him with a mix of hope and expectation, silently comparing him to his father. They wondered if Ekene would rise to the greatness of Okoro or crumble under the weight of his legacy. This pressure gnawed at Ekene's spirit, filling him with doubt and an overwhelming desire to prove himself. One day, as the crimson sun dipped below the horizon, Ekene was summoned by the Oracle of Udo, an ancient seer who dwelled in a sacred cave at the edge of the kingdom. The oracle's voice was known to carry the wisdom of the gods, and her words often shaped the fate of the kingdom's greatest warriors. Ekene entered the cave, his heart pounding with anticipation. The air was thick with the scent of burning herbs, and the walls were covered in symbols that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. At the center of the cave, the oracle sat upon a stone throne, her eyes closed as if she were in deep communion with the spirits. "Ekene, son of Okoro," the oracle intoned, her voice echoing through the cave like the whispers of the wind. "You have been called to undertake a trial, a journey through the cursed Valley of Echoes. This valley is a place of nightmares, where the voices of the past reveal the deepest fears, regrets, and weaknesses of those who enter. To emerge victorious, you must confront not only the physical dangers that lurk in the valley, but also the shadows of your own mind." The oracle's words sent a chill through Ekene's heart. He had heard of the Valley of Echoes, a desolate place where the echoes of past failures and unhealed wounds could drive a man to madness. But Ekene's resolve hardened. This was his chance to prove himself, to step out of his father's shadow and forge his own path. "But beware," the oracle continued, her eyes now open and filled with a piercing light. "Along your journey, you will encounter 5 common mistakes that derail the growth of men. These mistakes will manifest as trials, and you must overcome them if you are to succeed." With a deep breath, Ekene bowed before the oracle. "I will face these trials and prove myself worthy." The journey to the Valley of Echoes was long and fraught with challenges. Ekene traveled through dense forests, across vast plains, and over towering mountains, all the while steeling himself for what was to come. When he finally reached the valley, he was greeted by a landscape of jagged cliffs and twisted trees, shrouded in a perpetual mist that seemed to sap the warmth from the air. As Ekene stepped into the valley, the first trial emerged from the shadows, a towering figure draped in black with eyes that glowed like embers. This was the spirit of complacency, the first mistake that derails men's growth. "You seek greatness, yet you have allowed yourself to be content with your strength alone," the spirit hissed, its voice like the rustling of dead leaves. Complacency is the enemy of progress. A true warrior never stops learning, never stops growing. Ekene gripped his spear, his knuckles white. He had always prided himself on his strength, believing it to be enough to secure his place as a warrior. But the spirit's words cut deep, forcing him to confront the truth. He had grown complacent, resting on the laurels of his physical prowess without seeking to improve his mind and spirit. With renewed determination, Ekene charged at the spirit. But as he struck, the spirit dissolved into a cloud of smoke, its laughter echoing through the valley. The lesson was clear. Strength alone would not be enough to defeat the challenges ahead. Pressing on, Ekene soon encountered the second trial, the spirit of arrogance. This spirit took the form of a beautiful warrior clad in golden armor, her eyes flashing with disdain. "Your pride blinds you, young warrior," she taunted. "You seek to prove yourself not for the good of your people, but to satisfy your own ego. Arrogance is a poison that corrodes the soul, leaving you vulnerable to defeat." Ekene's heart burned with anger at the spirit's words. He had always believed that his desire to prove himself was justified. But now he saw the truth. His pride had clouded his judgment, leading him to seek glory for himself rather than for the greater good. Swallowing his pride, Ekene knelt before the spirit. "I seek not my own glory, but to honor the legacy of my father and protect my people," he said, his voice filled with humility. The spirit smiled, her form fading into the mist. "Remember this lesson, Ekene. True strength lies in humility." As he continued through the valley, Ekene came face to face with the third trial, the spirit of impatience. This spirit was a young boy, his face twisted with frustration, his fists clenched in anger. "Why do you wait? Why do you hesitate?" the boy demanded. "Impatience leads to rash decisions, to mistakes that cannot be undone. A warrior must learn to be patient, to wait for the right moment to strike." Ekene had always been quick to act, driven by a burning desire to prove himself. But he realized now that his impatience had often led him into dangerous situations, causing him to make decisions without fully considering the consequences. With a deep breath, Ekene calmed his racing heart. "I will learn to be patient, to wait for the right moment," he vowed. The boy nodded, his form dissolving into the mist. Patience is a virtue that few possess. Cherish it, and it will guide you through the darkest of times. The fourth trial soon appeared in the form of the spirit of isolation, a lone figure, wrapped in a cloak of shadows, its face hidden beneath a hood. "You believe that you can do this alone? That you do not need the help of others?" the spirit whispered, its voice like the wind through the trees. But isolation weakens the spirit, leaving you vulnerable to the darkness. A true warrior knows the value of community, of relying on others in times of need. Ekene had always believed that he could bear the weight of his father's legacy alone, that seeking help was a sign of weakness. But now, standing before the spirit, he realized the folly of his thinking. He was not alone. He had the support of his people, of his ancestors, and of the warriors who had come before him. "I am not alone," Ekene said, his voice filled with resolve. "I have the strength of my people behind me, and I will not hesitate to seek their help when I need it." The spirit nodded, its form dissipating into the air. "Remember, Ekene, that even the strongest warriors need others to help them carry the weight of their burdens." Finally, Ekene reached the last trial, the spirit of fear. This spirit took the form of a massive beast, its body covered in scales as black as night, its eyes burning with a fiery intensity. "Fear is the greatest enemy of all," the beast roared, its voice shaking the very ground beneath Ekene's feet. "It paralyzes, it weakens, it destroys. You have been running from your fear, afraid that you will never live up to your father's legacy. But a true warrior does not run from fear. He faces it head on." Ekene's heart pounded in his chest as he faced the beast. All his life, he had been haunted by the fear that he would never be as great as his father, that he would always be overshadowed by Okoro's legacy. But now, standing before the spirit of fear, he realized that this fear had held him back, preventing him from reaching his full potential. "I am not afraid," Ekene shouted, raising his spear. "I will face my fear and I will conquer it." With a mighty roar, the beast lunged at Ekene. But this time, Ekene did not flinch. He stood his ground, his heart filled with courage, and as the beast struck, he met it with the full force of his will. The beast let out a final deafening roar before it dissolved into a cloud of darkness, leaving Ekene standing alone in the valley. As the mist began to lift, Ekene found himself at the edge of the valley, the sun's rays breaking through the clouds and illuminating the path ahead. He had faced the 5 common mistakes that derail men's growth: complacency, arrogance, impatience, isolation, and fear, and he had emerged stronger for it. At the end of the valley, Ekene was met by the spirits of the fallen warriors of Udo. They stood in a circle, their faces solemn, their eyes filled with the wisdom of the ages. Among them was the spirit of Okoro, his father, his face proud and filled with love. "You have done well, my son," Okoro said, stepping forward. "You have faced the shadows of your past and emerged stronger for it. You have proven that you are not just my son, but a warrior in your own right. You have earned your place among the greatest of Udo." Tears filled Ekene's eyes as he knelt before his father's spirit. "Thank you, father," he whispered. "I will carry your lessons with me always." With that, the spirits faded, leaving Ekene alone in the valley. But he no longer felt the weight of the shadows. He no longer felt the need to prove himself to anyone but himself. He returned to Udo a changed man, a warrior who had not only the strength of his body, but the strength of his heart and spirit. The people of Udo welcomed him back with open arms, and the elders saw in him the makings of a great leader. In time, Ekene's name would be whispered with the same reverence as his father's, but for a different reason. For Ekene had not only inherited the legacy of Okoro, but had forged his own, a legacy of courage, wisdom, and the understanding that the greatest battles are not fought with weapons, but within the heart. The end. Thank you for listening. Feel free to subscribe, and until next time, stay blessed.